all about you, it's all about me, it's all about what we do. Making art, you and me, trying to find something to believe.
I am doing a book review called Lives of the Stoics today. It has been flooding all week. Our house is flooded. Apparently there's not going to be water this weekend, which I don't really understand because it's been raining so much. There's also no electricity. We're all being told to save water in our bathtubs as if it's the 1920s and it's World War II.
It's kind of like we're living in the dark ages.
And it's not unique to me. A lot of us have these little irritating things that happen to us that are out of control. There's nothing we can do about them.
But we do have control over the way we react.
Which is what Stoicism is to me. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shavar Naidu and we are doing our bi-monthly book review. Imagine a life where you could perform optimally, not care if things went well or went poorly, feel happier no matter what may come, no matter what daggers that person may be throwing at you, no matter what you see on your Instagram feed. What attracted me to this book was one of Ryan Holiday's podcasts, and in the podcast he said that Stoicism was all about courage, temperance, justice and wisdom. It sounded quite cool. It sounded very Harry Potterish. It made me think of Gryffindor. I wanted to know exactly what is Stoicism. It's always been linked to these marble statues and these people who are unemotive. The definition of Stoicism is actually a way of living in which the highest good is virtue, which is based on knowledge. It's when you become indifferent to the vicissitudes of fortune and to pleasure and pain. I think this book is really useful for people who live in really high pressure, high stress environments, who want to avoid burnout. Find a happier way of living where you're less attached to the outcomes of certain situations. Hardship is a part of life. The concept of amor fati is something that I have mentioned on this channel, and it is when we use these hardships and we use them as fuel in a fire so that we can rise from these challenges, similar to Harry Potter. I think I've been watching too much Harry Potter lately, rising from these ashes and using these hardships to our advantage. So this book is arranged in chapters, with each philosopher having their own chapter, and Zeno is often known as the father of philosophy. Cleanthes is introduced in the second chapter of this book as a successor to Zeno. He described hardship as working hand in hand with philosophy. He believes that hard work gifted us time to be quiet, to watch, and to learn. Hard work gave us an opportunity for excellence and mastery, although it might not seem that way during the time. Cleanthes was, interestingly enough, likened to an ass by his colleagues, which was quite nasty. They called him that because he was slow. He retorted that he was glad to be likened to an ass because it allowed him to carry the intellectual load bestowed upon by Zeno. The second thing I learned from this book was that there will always be external stimuli in our life, but we can control the response. We are only in control of so much, but we worry about all of these other things that are out of control. And I think if we just focus on what we can do, our lives would be so much happier because we'd be less attached to all of these things that just giving up and being like rolling over and being like, you know what? I can't control the fact that I have braces for the next 5 months of my life. I can't control the fact that it's been flooding this whole week and that there might not be any electricity or water this weekend. What I can control is making sure that the fridge is empty, making sure that we've saved enough water to shower and go to the loo, making the most of the situation. I learned that Stoicism was for everyone, from athletes to emperors to servants. One of the philosophers, Seneca, actually threw parties that were unrivaled to anyone at his time, in fact at our time even, and apparently he would use this as an opportunity to teach Stoicism, which brings us to our next point, that the Stoics were full of contrast and hypocrites in a way, because Seneca, while teaching Stoicism, also was the Emperor Nero's teacher. And if you're not familiar, Emperor Nero was a terrible man. I think he played the fiddle while Rome was burning. I learned that humans make mistakes, and while these values are really something that we can all strive towards doing, sometimes we do get angry, and sometimes we do give in to the lure of materialism. I saw these new AirPod Maxes and I just think they're the most insane thing ever. But that's just a part of being human, and being able to master these tiny traits in ourselves every day should be seen as tiny victories towards us going on the straight and narrow. Margaret Thatcher was mentioned as a Stoic in this book, and that's kind of when I switched off as a South African. I'm not very fond of her. She was one of the last people to impose sanctions on South Africa during apartheid. Memento mori. We should all welcome death with open arms, and rather than seeing it as something grave and something sinister, something to avoid, we should look at it and think, you know, we're all going to die one day. Might as well make the most of this moment. There's only 4,000 weeks in our lives. Why spend the next few days anticipating the hardship that is to come? Rather prepare for it. Be happy, be grateful that we do have a home. I do have a family next to me who love me. I have a beautiful, gorgeous puppy who I wish was in this video, but he's upstairs somewhere. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I highly recommend you read the book. The Obstacle as the Way is actually the next book I want to read of his. Our next book review is going to be The Mountain is in You by Brianna West. I hear that gave birth to the whole That Girl movement, which is highly controversial, but I rate that's our next book on the 4th of May, if I'm correct. I will see you guys then with our book review, and let me know what your comments and thoughts were about this book below. See you guys. Bye bye, and I'm more Fati. I hope you're all keeping safe in this time if you live in KwaZulu-Natal. And if not, please send your thoughts and prayers. Bye bye.